Well, hey there, Facebook. How are you? Welcome to the weekend. Please don't get up. Full disclosure, that's cup number 3. Cups number 1 and 2, long gone and having their intended effect. My intention is to read you a story. This is the way I heard it, after all. And here's a little biography, about 5 minutes long, wrapped up in a mystery, shot through with the level of whimsy one might not expect. If you're familiar with our little Saturday morning tales here, this one takes a slight departure. Nothing radical, but a little different from that to which you may have become accustomed. Before I jump in, let me just say that this particular episode is brought to you by Jesus Christ, Abraham Lincoln, my dog, the 2016 presidential election, and the shirt off my back. There's a sentence I dare say you never thought you would hear. Certainly it's one I never thought I would say, and yet it's happening. It's happening right now. Why am I telling you about a shirt? Because I want you to buy it. It says, "A doghouse divided against itself cannot stand." Huh? How clever is that? There I am, or some reasonable facsimile thereof, kind of a pale, puffy version of me wearing a baseball cap, and that's my dog, all dressed up in 19th century garb, wearing an Abraham Lincoln stove top pipe hat. Why, pray tell, Mike? Why are you telling us all this? It's because it's our chronic, perpetual Mike Rowe Works fundraiser. You buy one of these shirts, the proceeds go to our work ethic scholarship program. And what better sentiment, really? I mean, right now, all things considered, when we step back and look at this hot mess of political discourse and all the strom and drang and divisiveness in our fair land, what better way to sum it up than through the mind of a dog who says his house divided against itself cannot stand. A dog house. It's a metaphor. Maybe you'd like it. Abraham Lincoln, of course, most famous for saying a house divided against itself cannot stand back in 1858. Prior to that, Jesus Christ did beat him to it. Mark 3:25, a couple thousand years earlier. But it's Lincoln who typically gets the credit for it. And it was a pretty smart thing to say. 1858, he and Douglas were running for the Senate seat, Illinois. Yeah, in Illinois, if memory serves. Douglas had been arguing for something called popular sovereignty with respect to the slave issue in the country. He thought that the North and South could come back together if settlers in various territories were allowed to sort of sort it out for themselves. And Lincoln was like, no, Stephen, can't put the poop back in the goose. I don't know that he actually said that or not, but he just said that doesn't make any sense. That's not going to work. You know, it's got to be one thing or the other. A house divided against itself cannot stand. I believe this government cannot endure permanently half slave and half free. I do not expect the nation will dissolve. I do not expect the house will fall, but I do expect it will cease to be divided. It will become all one thing or all the other. That was Lincoln. Smart. Prescient. Prophetic, some have said. He did go on to lose that election. Douglas beat him, but not for long. Lincoln came back around and eventually saved the country, as we all know. Anyway, a doghouse divided against itself cannot stand. $24.99. Represent.com/Mike Rowe. They come in all the normal sizes, all the way up to 3X. What's going on? What is going on in this country that now I've seen 5X. I'm not passing judgment. I'm just saying it's a heck of a thing. We got extra small all the way up to 3XL. We also have bobbleheads.
Well, that's just disappointing.
Once again, the dog makes an appearance there. It's a somebody's got to do it bobblehead.
Holy crap. It's almost as though I don't know what I'm doing.
Story of my life, brother. These are available at bobbleheads.com for $29.99. Again, the proceeds go to Mike Rowe Works. I know that was a big, long, sloppy commercial, but it's what we do. It's what we do. We're raising money for our next tranche of work ethic scholarships, and studies show again and again we can't do it without you. Ready for a story? As I said, this one is slightly different from the normal offerings here on our little Saturday morning tete-a-tetes. But I hope you like it. First time I read it, I thought, this is just weird enough to... I got to share it with somebody. That was my foot, by the way. It's not the coffee. Shall we? After 89 extraordinary years, Fred was dead, and his kids were headed to the funeral home to pay their respects and honor their father's final wish. Along the way, they stopped at a Walgreens to pick up some snacks. After a brief debate concerning the merits of salt and vinegar versus sour cream and onion, the decision was made to go with the original. And so, Fred's children resumed their journey to the funeral home armed with a can of Pringles potato chips. Fred loved his kids, but his true legacy was Pringles. Many listening now are too young to recall the crisis that very nearly destroyed the junk food industry several decades ago. Broken potato chips. People were fed up with bags of chips that had been reduced to thousands of tiny fragments on their way to supermarket shelves. As the outrage grew, industry leaders began to panic. Something had to be done. So, in 1966, Procter & Gamble called in Fred Bauer. Fred held a Ph.D. in organic chemistry and a natural fascination with all things edible. He had designed freeze-dried ice cream and a vast variety of frying oils used in just about every kind of mass-produced food. If anybody could figure out how to keep potato chips in one piece, it was Fred. But after some careful thought and some rudimentary prototypes, Fred realized a better container would first require a better chip. What was needed was more uniformity, something that could be packed more efficiently and thereby shipped with less collateral damage. After 2 years of experimenting, Fred finally found the winning design, a hyperbolic paraboloid. Basically, Fred took dried potato flakes, added a bunch of unpronounceable ingredients, fried them up, and then sliced them into thin, saddle-shaped chips. In this way, Fred could stack a generous number of chips into a single column, which fit neatly into his vacuum-sealed tube, thereby allowing the contents to remain fresh indefinitely and arrive at their final destination unbroken. Procter & Gamble was thrilled with the new package. Customers were delighted with the new design. There was just one problem. The chips themselves tasted like sawdust. After a few more years, tweaking and testing, the flavor improved, and Fred's beloved Pringles were finally rolled out nationally. But then the lawyers came out of the woodwork, claiming that Pringles couldn't be called potato chips because they only contained 42% potato. They had a point. After so much haggling and compromise, the conspicuous lack of vegetable content led to a new terminology wherein Pringles are now marketed as crisps, not chips. Point is, Fred Bauer had a front row seat to the birth of a truly iconic brand. Pringles really were Fred's baby. He was there right from the start, nurturing a completely new idea through the endless pitfalls and breakthroughs of product development. He was there when shareholders called for Procter & Gamble to dump the brand because it was such an obvious failure. And he was there to see the brand break $100 million in sales, then $200 million, then $500 million. But he wasn't there in 2011 when Procter & Gamble finally sold the brand that he created for nearly $2.5 billion. Fred died in 2008, which brings us back to the funeral home where Fred's children had now arrived with a can of Pringles, prepared to honor their father's last wish. And so they did. They ate the Pringles during the cremation. Then they filled the empty Pringles can with their father's ashes, which is where Fred resides today, neatly packaged and vacuum-packed for all eternity. In life, Fred Bauer poured himself into his work. In death, his kids did the honors, proving once again the inherent truth of Pringles' famous slogan, "Once you pop, the fun don't stop." Anyway, that's the way I heard it. Stupid. Buried in a can of Pringles. That's commitment. That is dedication to your product. That's the difference between dedication and commitment. There's an old joke. The difference between dedication and commitment could best be illustrated by breakfast. If you look at what's for breakfast, bacon and eggs, you understand that the eggs, that the chicken was committed but the pig was dedicated. Thank you for watching me mostly amuse myself this morning. The coffee was great. The bobblehead is available
Hey, somebody's got to do it.
for
What are you?
for $29.99
Why, yes, that is a bag of poo in my hand. Thank you for participating in the weirdness that is my life.
at bobbleheads.com. A house divided against itself cannot stand. You can get them in gray, you can get them in black. No matter what color you get them in, you can even get a hoodie. You got to go over to represent.com/Mike Rowe, and there is one last look at that. Well, this was fun. I hope it was coherent. Have a great weekend, and let me leave you with this.
That is ill-advised.
See ya.